Well, hey there, and thanks for joining us for the Weekly Grind, a podcast where we work out the topics that shape and influence the culture, community, and church of today from a biblical perspective. My name is Ben, here with my pastor and good friend Chip. He's the lead pastor, and I'm the worship pastor here at the Napoleon Church of the Nazarene. Today on the podcast, we talk with Tom Mack. Tom is the director for the United Way of Henry County, and we spend some time talking about the role that the United Way plays in the community and how people can get involved. This is the Weekly Grind. Okay, well, Chip, today we're joined with a staple in the Henry County community, and just somebody that I've looked to and have grown very fond of the last couple of years as I've had the opportunity to work with the United Way of Henry County, and it's Tom Mack is joining us. So welcome to the Weekly Grind podcast.
Ben, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You know, I echo what he's saying because I've heard him talk about Tom Mack a lot of times. And I know he really admires what you do and your voice in the community. So I'm excited about this podcast. I know, again, those of you that watch and know what we're about, we really are very intentional about a kingdom perspective as we approach our world, our culture, our community. Mm-hmm. And at the core of a kingdom perspective is serve, right? Love others as you love yourself is core to who we're about. And guess what is right in the heartbeat of what happens in Henry County is the United Way. And I have been blown away as kind of a new Henry County resident to watch the amount of services that are provided in our community for people who are maybe marginalized or in need of help. Mm-hmm. It's been so encouraging. And I love that partnership. And right in the middle of all of that is the United Way and you, Tom. And so this is really good to have you on today, give you a chance just to share with people what you're about. Because sometimes you're in so much that it's like, whoa, I'm not quite sure. And so give you a chance to kind of explain that and share. And maybe they can latch onto something and partner or support.
Love that.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on.
Chip,
really
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. A lot of people, when they think of United Way, the first thing they think of is the fundraiser that we do, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's really much, much more to United Way than that. But through that fundraiser, we're able to provide funding support to 35 different health and human service agencies that are serving the people here in Henry County. And we've just been incredibly fortunate to have the greatest group of volunteers to help. Our mission statement says that what we're trying to do is increase the organized capacity for people to help one another. And that's basically what we do, structure ourselves in whatever area is important in the community and get those volunteers and resources to work to try to meet what the most pressing needs are in the community.
And not even you have a direct impact on so many things around the community, but I would also say definitely an indirect impact as well, because, we have a lot of people within our church that listen to this podcast, and I've been working directly with you with our own kind of meal program that we've started, and I just want to tell you guys that, I don't know that I would have been pretty scared to approach something like this had it not been for you, and just being a lifeline to call upon. Hey, we need this. Who could I talk to about this? Who could I talk to about this? And so maybe it's not an official United Way sanctioned kind of thing, but you guys have done so much to help us too. So, great.
Once was at a seminar and they made the statement that ideas are a dime a dozen. The people that implement them are precious and few. And when you took the leadership role on this from the church and Ben, your activities, it made it happen. And it's getting better every day. And it was an important service to the community. So it was great to see the church take the lead on that and be the mainstay for that program.
35 is kind of a significant number, isn't it? 35 organizations, but we were chatting before the show. 35 years.
Yeah. I actually had blonde hair when I started this job.
Okay. Defiance guy, right?
Yeah.
Ends up in Napoleon.
Yeah.
Are your Have
But
your
we forgive
allegiances
you.
changed? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Are you just trying to get me in trouble, Chip?
Look,
You reverse-
I told you, he puts his foot in his mouth a lot.
You know, I've been around long enough. Most of the people forgot that. You know, early on it was pretty tough, but most people forgot that.
But the work that you guys do surpasses any sort of prejudice or defiance or whatever. So let's just talk maybe day in the life of the United Way, or how it's broken down, how everything works.
Yeah, I love that, a day in the life of the United Way.
Because every day's a little different, right?
Well, yeah, let me talk about last Friday because, as I was sharing earlier, that Friday was a unique day. Started out the mornings talking to Stephen Tucker, the superintendent for the Henry County Board of DD, and we were talking about Special Olympics and their HARP program that provides recreational opportunities for people with developmental disabilities here in Henry County. And thanks to the generosity of all of our donors, we're able to fund almost $48,000 into those two programs each year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so talking to Stephen about, how things were going, because not being able with the virus to get the athletes together and to have those recreational activities, he said, well, we're Zooming with them every day at 3:00 to try to keep that connection there for them. And I said, well, that's awesome that, that they would make that big an effort to keep everybody together. And then he said, the other thing is Tina Parsons is actually working with them and would like to find a service program in the community. And his suggestion was they'd like to find a veteran and have that, that needs yard work done. And I said, great, let's see what we can find out. So this morning I talked to Brent Bischoff out the Veterans Office, and I said, hey, Brent, working with Hope Services, would like to know if you can give us our veteran. And he said, I can't come up with somebody right away, Tom, but give me a chance to think about it and I'll give you a call back. Well, we talk about how the Lord works in mysterious ways. A half hour later, I get a call from a young man that his father just got out of VA hospital, been there for 5 weeks, has cancer, said the house totally got away from him. The yard needs a lot of work. And I said, oh, Brent, have you call me? And he said, who's Brent? And I said, oh, so you don't know Brent from the VA? I just talked to him. I assume he had you call. No. I just decided that today was the day that I was going to try to find somebody to help parents and called. And I thought, that is just incredible. And he said, I want you to know I'm a spiritual person. And he said, I've just got chills going up and down my body right now, thinking that the Lord wanted this to happen and made this connection. And I said, no doubt about it. And I said, send me some pictures because we're anxious to get started. I love doing yard work, and you get those crew together from Hope, and you get a lot of stuff done in a big hurry, and you have fun doing it.
Yeah, a lot of laughs probably.
Yeah.
But shout out to Tina Parsons.
Yeah.
That's a NapNaz right there. So.
Yeah.
She's a remarkable individual.
Yeah, she's fun. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, and I just feel like that's one example of kind of the way United Way works in connecting people to increase the function and capacity of a community, I feel like. And, we had Dr. Eric Belcher on, and he's, within the last year, what he's kind of working on as a superintendent. And I think the greatest thing that he's done so far is the hashtag All in Napoleon, because I feel like so many maybe community members, we've just kind of gotten behind that. And I mean, that's just another way that we can kind of work together. And I felt like there's always been kind of a spirit of that in Henry County of people looking out for one another and working together to solve problems. So, yeah.
Next call on Friday was calling Shannon Jones over at Job and Family Services to see about the Stuff the Bus program and whether we could still do that and that they would still help with some financial support for that. And she said yes to that, and that's been a really fantastic experience. It's a huge job because we're packing school supplies right to the teacher's list. And we go out to do that packing, and you think, boy, we're going to get this project done timely. And then all of a sudden you got 40 volunteers that show up, and you didn't know 20 of them were even coming. And I thought, that is just incredible. And it's just another example of how people in the community will rally. You just need to let them know that.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes hard to communicate that, but once they know, they're there to help out.
What was the third call?
Third call was, it wasn't a phone call, but it is, we're working on our early childhood development programming. Really important to us at United Way that early childhood programming be available in the community. It's our philosophy that if a child gets an early educational jump and they do well in school early on, they'll do well in school generally. If they do well in school, they'll usually do well on a job, and so they've got sent on the way with great capacity. And so one of the emphasis we want to do this summer is to give them a little break here between that unusual finish to the school year, but now we want to get them back to reading with their children 20 minutes every day. So on Facebook, up until a couple of weeks ago, we were doing about twice a week an opportunity for families to get books if they would commit to reading with their child. And we're going to launch that again later this week. So we're working on that. And it's just another area that people just don't think of United Way as being involved with as much. And then that final call of the day, unfortunately, was the fire disaster that we had here in the community last week. A lot of people displaced from that. Lost everything. The house was a complete loss and everything in it. And so we worked closely with the Red Cross. We gave them a call, and you talk about another group with great volunteers. They've got volunteers that train for disasters, and they were out there within an hour or so. Made arrangements to get the family, a lot of young children too, into a hotel and get them sheltered for 2 or 3 days so they could get back on their feet. And when you lose everything like that, they need vouchers so that they can go out and get personal care items and some clothing, because pretty much walked out with the clothes they had on their back, and that was it. And so it just ended up with a lot of different things that day, and I thought, always struggled with, wish I could do better of explaining what United Way does. But when there's so many things like that, it's hard to put it in a single sentence that this is what we do.
That's great, though. I mean, you're doing so much that it's like I can't even just give you one picture. It's a whole diamond that has a lot of different sides. I'm actually a CPC executive board member for Northwest Ohio, the center in Napoleon and
Right.
Wauseon, Bryan, and Defiance, and you guys contribute to that with our helping parents develop good habits and learn how to be a good parent. You guys are helping with that, fund that, and so I was aware of that. It's just another ministry, another service you're providing in our community. So
And that is a great organization. We love their philosophy. They've got a program they call Earn While You Learn.
Yep.
That parents get involved in studying modules to teach them to be better parents. And through doing that, they'll earn credits to get a crib or diapers or whatever they need for their baby. And it's a great program to be a part of.
Yeah.
I know through the Imagination Library, we've gotten a lot of books with Judah, and you talk about 20 minutes a day. I think at bedtime, he wants to read every book on this shelf, and there's probably 60 books. I mean,
Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, you guys were the ones mailing books earlier, correct? Was that you guys just this spring?
Yes, but that was not the Imagination Library. That was the early childhood development program.
Because there's some of those books in my house.
Awesome.
Seriously,
yeah.
Colby and Selah, they're reading them.
Anything, and then, and that's one of the things we want to do with volunteers to get them more involved in early childhood development. We did a lot of programming in the wintertime with the library on a bear series we did, brown bear, and polar bear,
Real
and
cool,
panda
right?
bear,
Yeah.
And we've got one that we've been wanting to do so bad. It's a book about a miniature horse, and we know people that have miniature horse, and we want to bring them in, but restricted on the size of the crowd. But we still want to find a way with working with volunteers that we could have people drive up and pick up the book and see the horse from a distance, and So we're hoping to get that project off. But every one of these, like I said earlier, you can have great ideas. It's the people that implement them that make it incredible.
I mean, you resource the Santa House. We're both Rotarians, and that's a big part of what we do during the winter months. And I know you guys are helping resource that. So it's just, man, everywhere you look, the United Way's got their hands in something.
I think, like you mentioned, though, pouring into the young lives. I mean, that's where generational change comes from. I know with Nazarene Compassion Ministries, and which we're affiliated with. I mean, they have a strong emphasis on just pouring into children when they're young to help break cycle of poverty or whatever it may be. And I've just gotten the sense from you too that that's kind of where your heart's at, is teaching people how to fish, not just giving them a fish.
Absolutely.
And speaking of that, though, I do want to talk about some of the other agencies that you come alongside, that the United Way comes alongside to support. Where do you want to start?
Well, you want to talk about basic needs now?
Yeah, let's do that.
With the virus going on, we've been spending a lot of time planning for the future. The communities come together in a great way, and with the assistance programs that are available out there, people are, even though they're losing jobs at too high a rate, they're able to make it through right now. We have a great concern that come September, October, November is when the real problem will hit, that some of the government programming will be lacking will not be at the peak that it is right now. So work regularly with the fish program, St. Vincent de Paul. Together we can make a difference. It provides paper products to families that have a need for that. And then we pay the expense for truck transportation every month. Virgil Bowles takes a truck down to pick up government commodities. And there are so many available right now that they actually need the whole truck. We used to share it with Defiance County and share the expense on that, but they're bringing back so much product into the community right now that do that with a single truck. So work with those agencies on helping people meet basic needs that they have.
So talk about Fish of Henry County and how that functions, how that operates, what that looks like.
They have a lady that works out of her home that if people need assistance with rent, utilities, they help with food vouchers. A lot of churches in the community have pantries, but they don't have the fresh products. So what Fish will do is provide them with a voucher so they can get some milk, eggs, potatoes, or whatever they might need at that time, because those things are usually not available through surplus food products. And so Fish handles those in those three areas. St. Vincent Paul, very much the same thing, rent assistance and utilities. Together we can make a difference as the paper product. So just together you can make a difference. A relatively new organization. I'm going to say they're probably about 10 years old, and I'm sure I'm going to be wrong about that. Time flies so much, but it was a much needed service that people have appreciated having in the community.
Yeah. Very good.
Beyond that, work with agencies that provide counseling for individuals, Center for Child and Family Advocacy with their work, recovery services that people that are struggling with drug or alcohol, women that are struggling with that. They have a residential treatment program that we help provide funding into. Lutheran Social Services does counseling, and so fund those different areas for counseling for individuals from the community.
And I think too, that was a lot of information right there, but leading off these are real lives and I think every organization you could probably think of a story, of a way, just like how we started the podcast off with like Your Day Friday, and how you kind of work to kind of, try to connect people. Each one of these organizations, they have a story to tell, and it's not just information or agencies, or it's the people's heart behind what's going on and what they're doing, and it's just phenomenal.
And to go back to something Chip talked about, anybody that has a heart that would like to volunteer in the community, let us know. Once we know we've got more volunteers out there, we can expand the things we're doing. It's like helping this veteran. We continue to do that if we continue to find more and more volunteers out there. And And this is the kind of community, when you ask, you're usually going to find out you've got just as much help as you need.
Yeah.
You find that in the church every day, don't you?
Yeah. Yep. There's kind of new people stepping up all the time. And I want to call out millennials. We're not kids anymore. So it's our time to step up and do a lot more too I know we've got, a lot of that generation around here at the church that kind of serve and do things. You're chuckling. But
I think I'm out of that age range now.
You're Gen
I'm
X, aren't
barely
you?
out of it. Yeah.
What
I can chuckle about that when you call out millennials.
That's right. Well,
Not
I feel like
me.
I can. I am a millennial,
Not
so it's
me.
like, hey,
No,
this is our community. It's time. Like we got to own
your
this,
time.
and let's do this. I mean, some of the things that you're talking to directly impacts us. Like I said, I've got 2 young kids. Okay, well, your heart is to see my children, grow and prosper. Okay, why wouldn't I get behind that and support and serve and help in whatever way we can to do that? And so.
And I mean, look at the holistic approach, the physical needs of food, clothing, then the counseling needs, the emotional, the mental stability. I mean, what a holistic kind of approach to the whole person that is very diversified. A lot of places are just, but you're coming behind all of that and supporting that. That's really good.
Yeah. One of the other programs I haven't mentioned that I always like to take the opportunity is the cancer care program, where volunteers have collected enough funding and set up a program that if you're cancer patients that are having some financial difficulties, that they can get mileage reimbursement for their gas mileage. And a lot of times those families have lost income because the person with the cancer can't work, and even if they're lucky enough to have a good disability, it's probably just 50-60% of their regular income. Often their spouse has to take off work to drive them there, so they end up with financial issues, and that mileage reimbursement, and there's about 6-7 different areas, wigs and prosthesis and things that we can help with. So if you know a family in Henry County that's going through cancer issues and can use some financial assistance, we'd like them to call, see if we can't help them out.
And that's a great point, because, basically if there's a need that exists, you either can help meet that need or know the person that they need to call to meet that need. I mean, you really are kind of conduit in this, this community.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, we saw the need for people that had other problems, medical problems. It wasn't, we were helping the cancer patients, but what if I'm diabetic and I can't get my prescriptions and that? And volunteers on the United Way board set aside a fund they call community care funds, so that those odd things that were falling through the crack, we can hopefully help people with those. And they set aside some additional money for prescription help. A lot of people got laid off, maybe lost their insurance coverage, and if that's the case and they were on prescription drugs and they lost their coverage on that, want to be able to help with that too.
Yeah.
So for you, sitting right here on, what is it, June the 22nd, what are the things that you're seeing like are going to need attention or kind of what's your diagnosis of what are the biggest things that need service?
Well, right now, I think that the basic needs for people are being well met in the community. What I worry about is some of the psychological things that, elderly people that have become isolated in way too many different ways. And I'd love to see some people in the community come up with creative ways to keep that communication going with people in those households and families that have become very isolated, particularly because of their age. But young children also, if there's ways that we can engage them during this unusual time when we shut so many things down and we're so involved with the distancing issues, that I think that's something in the future that needs to be created and helped out with.
Yeah. That's good. I couldn't agree more about the psychological side. But obviously part of my role is is there's a counseling aspect, and out of this, just the things that have been brought to me, and I know that that's symptomatic across the board in our community, where thankfully mental illness, the stigma was falling away. Seems like over the last 10 years, but I think through this too, we really need to be okay with being active and seeing ourselves and our neighbors as people who potentially could be dealing with some psychological issues, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Good.
Tom, where can people go to learn more about the United Way, or maybe to connect with you?
Just give us a call. Phone number is 419-599-8176. Don't have many people visiting the office right now because of the situation, but and they can also check some things on Facebook that pretty consistent about adding stuff up until the last couple of weeks. And as I said earlier, we've got things rolling out later this week.
Yeah, definitely keep in tune this fall. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of moving pieces this fall as kind of things move in that direction of some sort of normalcy.
We look forward to sharing some pictures of this project coming up with people from Hope.
That'll be phenomenal. I can't wait to see them. So
Good. Do you need volunteers for the stuff? You call it Stuff the Bus, right?
Yes, yeah.
I think Crossroads kind of hosts that, right?
We need a huge building to do it in,
Yeah,
and they've been kind enough to let us use the back of the building. And I think when the volunteers come in, they're always kind of shocked to see all these tables and how spread out that project is to do. And they've been great about it. And the radio station will do some spots, and we'll make announcements. But if you're interested in doing that, you can give us a call.
So you are asking for volunteers for that.
Yeah, and that's pretty efficient. I mean, I know you kind of show up and, hey, if you can do this, boom, then you go do it. You don't have to have a working knowledge of the entire kind of thing. You just need to be willing.
Yeah. Yep.
So, cool. Well, thanks Tom for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, and I just can't say enough about the church and your congregation and how terrific the people are in the community. You talk about serving, and when I look at many of our boards and officers, they're people involved right here at the church and leading the way in the community, and we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. But thank you for all the years and the impact you've had.
Thank you.
Here's to the next 35.
I think you're stretching it there, man.
All right, we'll see you around town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, hey, thanks for engaging with us in this week's episode of The Weekly Grind as we tackle the topics of today from a biblical perspective. If you found today's topic or any episode valuable to you and your growth, it'd mean a lot to us if you would leave us a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to stay caught up on every episode of the Weekly Grind podcast. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time.